Hi everybody. So we've made it to 2016 of a race to beat my last one of 21 minutes. I'm sure that you guys are really tired of listening to my voice and these videos, but I'm hoping that they're really giving you guys some good details to boost your scores. Okay, number one. So I have socks here because it is a histogram. I have right skewed. Outlier between $20 and $22.50. Notice I've learned my lesson and I put in tips and I've underlined it. Median between $2.50 and $5 in tips. How I got that was by counting in, if you guys remember. And then the only spread you can get for this histogram is a range. So I said range of about 0 to $22.50 in tips. Okay, essentially correct. If you have 5 components. Shape, skewed right, outlier or gap, so you can say either the outlier or the gap, center between $2.50 and $5 of the median. It says that you can say the mean. You shouldn't say the mean. I don't know why they're allowing that. It's definitely skewed, so you shouldn't be using the mean. But anyway, and then variability, you should use the range and saying that it's 0 to $22.50, and then context. Because I learned my lesson, I get an E. 3 or 4 of the 5 is a P. At most 2 of the 5 is an I. Okay. Now, part B, you get an E if you say the mean would increase, and then you have to correctly justify why it would increase. And I don't think you need to have this actual calculation. I think you just say it would be pulled toward the tail. I think is plenty good. And then the median comments that the median will not change and say why the median will not change, and I said both $8 and $18 are greater than the median. If you have only 2 or 3 of the 4 components, you get a P, and 1 of the 4 components is an I. Okay, question 2. We're not doing question 2 because it's chi-squared. Okay. Question 3. Oh man, we're going to speed through this. Okay. So, pretty sure I got a P on this. After I was highlighting this earlier, I was like, oh crap. So, it says in E, if both variables are described correctly, some degree of status of the variable, smoking versus not smoking. Okay, I did that. Smoking versus not smoking. And then you were supposed to put developing Alzheimer's versus not developing Alzheimer's. I just put developing Alzheimer's. I did not put versus not developing Alzheimer's. You could say something like whether or not they developed Alzheimer's or something like that. I didn't say that, so I think I got a P. Sad. One variable is described correctly and the other's not. That's me. If neither variable is described correctly but smoking is mentioned and Alzheimer's is mentioned, you get a P. So if you just say smoking, Alzheimer's, that's also a P. And if you have them correctly described but they're interchanged, like you get it completely like backwards, it's also a P. You can't see it. Okay. And then anything else is a 5. Okay. Part B is saying that you have to say it's an observational study, and then you have to say subjects were randomly assigned to smoke. So randomly assigned means that no subjects were randomly assigned, and I also included that it would be unethical to randomly assign people to smoke. E, if you say observational, smoking status was not assigned, or smoking status was only observed. Okay, this is gonna make you angry. When I was highlighting earlier, I was like, oh crap. So you get a P if you say observational and then you say the treatment was not assigned. You don't say specifically that it was smoking. Or you get a P if you say that it's observational and you don't say, if you use the observed, you don't say only observed or just observed or merely observed or simply observed or something like that without indicating that the treatments were assigned. They really want you to say those treatments are assigned, so they're really going to be picky there, I guess. And I if you don't have any of that. Okay, part C. I said a person exercises regularly, they are more likely to take care of their bodies and less likely to smoke, and maybe then less likely to develop Alzheimer's. Okay, you get an E if you get explanation that exercise status is related to smoking status, so that's my exercising regularly, more likely to take care of their bodies and less likely to smoke. States that exercise status might influence whether the person develops Alzheimer's disease, and then may be less likely to develop Alzheimer's. Okay, if you only have one of those two items, that's a P. Or if you only describe how smoking and exercise both influence whether or not a person develops Alzheimer's, that's a P. If you mention both of the associations but include a incorrect statistical statement, like for example they were interchanged, then you get a P. So they're kind of going off your previous one. If you interchange these, and you can then interchange these and still get a P, which is nice. Okay, question 4. Okay, part A is scored as follows: correct probability and correct justification. Okay, so I have work, answer, correct probability, correct justification. If you if you note that it's 30 successes and 30 attempts, but you don't have a proper calculation, that's a P. If you just say probability that X is greater than 30, but do not carry out a proper calculation, you still get a P. So you can even just label this and you get a P, which is great. So try to label these. Notice I didn't. I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't at this moment. But anyway, if you label binomial, label these, but don't get the correct calculation, you can still get a P, which is great. If you give the correct probability but an incomplete definition or value of the random variable, then you get a P. So yeah, you can't just write the answer. All right. B. You have, here's my answer for B, by the way. Correct probability and correct justification. So I have correct probability with work. P, if you have a reasonable attempt to do a geometric binomial or conditional probability, but you don't carry it out. So that's really nice. If you show that you're just trying to do some kind of geometric binomial or conditional, but it's wrong, you still get a P. If you have the correct probability but no work, you get a P also. Anything else is an I. Okay, part C. Since our probability of 0.0076 is less than any typical alpha level, we have convincing evidence that the failure rate is less than 15%. Okay? You get an E if you say less than 50%, and you say that it's small, so that's my less than alpha, and does it in the context of the situation. So I say failure rate is my context. This is my justification that it's small, so less than any alpha we use, and I have to choose less than. Okay, if you don't do context, it's a P. If you have a significance level and make a decision in context, but you don't put this less than, you get a P. I don't think anyone would do that in our class, but and then you also get a P if you don't make a decision. So say something like it's very small, but you don't say is it reasonable or not to believe. And I, if you don't explicitly make a decision about reasonableness, whether or not it's reasonable to conclude that it's 15%. So if the failure rate is very small, then, but you don't say, you don't make a decision. Okay, wait, hold on. What's the difference between this and this? Oh, okay. So you don't make it, you make a decision in context here, but you don't link it, or if that's a P, but if you don't make a decision at all, that's an I. Whew. Okay. All right, question 5, last one. I'm at 10 minutes, 53 seconds. I'm doing great. Okay. Section 1 is scored as follows. State correct procedure by name or by formula. Okay, so that's this. You can see I'm doing a confidence interval correct formula there. Calculates the confidence interval. So that's this. That's section 1 is I've identified the work for the confidence interval formula and I have made the interval. Okay. P if you have only one of those two. So incorrect procedure, but you have the confidence interval, or you just put the interval with no work. Okay. Section 2 is the interpretation, this sentence. So you need to estimate a proportion, which is this. Infers about the population, so true proportion of all adults. States 95% confidence and includes context. Okay, estimates a proportion, that's our interval. Infers about the population, so captures the true proportion. States 95% confidence and includes context. If you write your usual conclusion for your confidence interval, you'll meet all 4 of those. If you have 1 and 2 and only one of 3 or 4, you get a P. And here's something interesting that I want to point out, really important, that you guys can actually get a P if you do the conclusion without the actual interval. So let's say you just completely blank, can't calculate any of this. You can still get a P for section 2 just from saying we are 95% confident that an interval would capture the true proportion. So you don't even need to have these calculations to still like recover your grade for section 2. And if you have only one of those two things, no. That's it for section 2. Okay. And then an I if there's nothing else. Okay, section 3 is conditions, it looks like. Oh. No, it's what we're doing part B. Okay. The condition implies the sampling distribution of p hat is approximately normal. Did I not do B? Oh, they're flipped. Okay, this is the normal condition which allows us to approximate the normal distribution and use z star equals 1.96. What happened here? Okay, anyway, I did this like a year ago, I must have, or 2. Okay, so implies that the sampling distribution is normal, so I said this is the normal condition. Or that the normal approximation to the binomial is appropriate. Okay. Well, that's funny. Alright, section 3 also includes part C, so you have to have B and C in section 3. Part C indicates the procedure is not appropriate because they come from a single sample rather than 2 independent samples. I said no because it is not appropriate because only 1 random sample was taken. Okay, so B and C are section 3, If you got one of them correct and the other one correct, it's a P. If you got them both wrong, it's an R. All right. I did it. 15 minutes and 7 seconds. Yes. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.